Hello there, and welcome to another Minecraft showcase. This is kind of a showcase slash tutorial, I guess. I'm going to show you what I built and then sort of go over how it works without rebuilding it. Basically, I was working on my map, and I accidentally broke a chain of command blocks, and now I have to rebuild them, which is frustrating. So I'm going to do that later, and for now I'm going to take a break and show you this. So I was inspired by watching Hermitcraft. Now in Hermitcraft, which by the way is a group of Minecrafters who stream on YouTube, or rather record on YouTube, they have Hermit Thrills, which is like a theme park. In other words, it's a bunch of mini games made in Minecraft. And one of the mini games is called Lucky Break, where you go in and you pay a diamond, and then you break a half slab. Underneath it is a dropper or a furnace, and whatever's inside that one you get to keep. So it's like gambling, and it could be something good or it could be something terrible. So I was watching that. I was watching some hermits play that, and I realized that it could be more automated, because the way it was designed, basically players would either refill the stuff by putting whatever they wanted to donate to the game into the furnace that they happen to break open, or dropper that they happen to break open, which isn't very random, or it would just sit there empty until eventually someone would come by, probably Topmass who made it, and refill all of them manually, which is again not random and also kind of tedious. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if there was a way to automatically fill them? And so that's how this came about. Now I could have put, slabs up here to make it like the actual game where you break slabs, but that's not necessary. You could always add them on. Ooh, crap. Yeah, just pretend that one's facing sideways. But yeah, you can always add slabs if you want. I'm using droppers, not furnaces. You can make them furnaces if you want. But the idea here is that it will automatically refill. So right now they're all empty. But if I wanted to come along and donate to the game, so come up here, I could donate some stuff. And since the idea is that you're gambling for good or bad stuff, we can give both. So let's just say we take we take maybe a few things of cobble. Oops, what? Yeah, let's say a few things of cobble for the bad stuff. But then we also have, I don't know, a silk touch book, which is a good thing. And we want to donate them. So we throw them in here, and then they'll start randomizing. And if you look over here, you'll see that light is on, and as it says, that's the reset lamp. And then when it turns off, it's ready to play. So yeah, that tells you it's ready to play. And now when someone comes in here to play, here we have a piece of cobble. So if they pick that, they just get cobble. Here they got nothing, nothing. Here they would get the silk touch book. They'd be lucky. Cobble, 2 cobble here, and 2 cobble there. So basically, the system will take anything donated to it, and it will randomly and somewhat evenly distribute it across all of these droppers, so that it wouldn't be necessarily, you wouldn't have to go in and manually refill it. You just throw everything into that chest up there, and it'll automatically randomize it into these droppers, and then it'll let you know when it's done. So yeah, so that's how this works. Well, I guess that's what this does, and now I can show you how it works. It's actually kind of simple. You'll notice this is in a ring, whereas the original design on Hermitcraft was just a filled-in square. It's a ring for a very important reason. I guess technically it doesn't have to be a... well, yeah, it does have to be a ring. But you can make it as big or as little as you want, and you could put concentric rings in here if you wanted to, and just rebuild the design. But the idea here is pretty simple, so let's break out of here. So this is a trap chest, and the reason for that is so that the hopper underneath doesn't pull anything out while it's open, because it powers it. So that way if somebody accidentally drops something in here they don't want to donate, they can always pull it back out before they close it. And so then if we come over here, you'll see this is a 3-layer ring of hoppers. And it does need to be 3 layers. I tried it with 2 layers, and then I realized it ended up with items backed up in the 2nd layer. So you need the 3rd layer to pull out of the 2nd layer. So the idea here is basically this randomizer controls this redstone line, which goes into this entire 2nd layer of hoppers at once. And that means as long as this is on, this 2nd layer of hoppers, which all point downward, is not going to pull anything out from the hoppers above them. Now the hoppers above them, if you look, are all pointed into each other, so those go around in circles. And so what happens is they basically just go around in a circle with that randomizer deciding when these are unlocked for 1 tick or so. And when this gets unlocked, wherever the items happen to be at the time, they get pulled down into the hopper below them. And now that's going to continue as long as there's items in the loop here. And the way I detect whether there's items in the loop here is I just use a comparator coming out of the first hopper. And this hopper is the one right below the chest. And so, let me put this back. So when you put items in the chest, they get pulled out and they immediately go into this hopper. And so as long as there's items flowing into this hopper, it's going to turn on that comparator, which will turn off this torch, which will then turn this torch on. And this is just a signal pulse limiter, or sorry, a pulse extender, which means when this torch turns off, the signal is going to stay on just a little while longer. And the reason we do that is because if there's only 1 item in there, it's going to pass by within a tick or 2. And we want this signal to last long enough because this signal is actually controlling this clock. So when this signal is off, this torch is on, which powers this and turns this clock off. So this part right here is a clock. So as long as this signal is off, this clock turns off. And what we want is when an item passes through there, we want the clock to turn on for as long as it takes at least 1 item to travel around this whole loop. And so for that, we use a signal extender here, pulse extender, whatever you want to call it, which is pretty simple. And then it'll go through, and then as long as there's an item passing through that loop, that will turn this clock on. As this clock pulses, every time this clock pulses, and this is set to 2 ticks here and 2 ticks here, so it's a 4-tick clock. So every 4 ticks, this will pulse, and we've got this randomizer here, which is just a non-stackable item and a stackable item. And so every time this clock ticks, it's going to shoot an item randomly into this hopper. If it's the shovel, it's non-stackable, so it'll give a signal strength of 3 and get to here. If it's the redstone, it's stackable, so it'll only give a signal strength of 1, and it won't reach that repeater. So that gives you a 50-50 chance on every clock tick of actually reaching here, which turns off all of those repeaters, which allows all of these hoppers to turn on, and wherever the item happens to be at that point, it'll get pulled down. And then the hopper below that will just pull it out and push it into the droppers that you choose your items from. So I know that was a lot, but in summary, basically, we have a hopper loop that the items keep spinning around until they're sorted out. Every time they pass the beginning, it turns on this clock. Every time this clock pulses, you have a 50% chance from this randomizer to pull the items in here down. And a key thing is that the way hoppers work with chests or inventories above them is they pull one at a time. They don't just pull everything, and they won't even pull a whole stack. So they'll only pull one at a time. And what that means is that these will not have, you probably aren't going to have a whole like chest full of stuff in this loop when one thing pulses. If that happened, then you'd get one item from everything pulled down. But that's not likely to happen because by the time the next items come in, the first item will probably have already been sorted in one of these. So it makes it nice and uniform. Now this design is small. It only uses, a 3x3 loop here. But like I said, you can extend it. If you extend it, you're going to need some repeaters thrown in to make sure that the this line here reaches all of the hoppers around the edges. But that's easy enough to do. Just throw in some repeaters. I think that's really it. Oh, and then the last thing is the indicator light. So when this is ticked on, that means that there is at least one item going around this loop. So we just take that with a repeater, and we send that signal into this lamp. So when this lamp is on, it means there is something in this loop up here which hasn't been sorted yet, and that lamp will only turn off after everything has been sorted, and then this pulse fades out. So that just tells players when stuff is being sorted from the donation box, so they can just wait until everything's in place before playing. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then, like I said, you can obviously put slabs up here to make it more like the original game. So if I wanted a sandstone slabs up here, I could just do that. And then, basically, and this is all just aesthetics now. Everything I just showed you is all you need for the sorter, and it is silent. The only part that makes any noise, no, the whole thing is silent. Yeah, I was going to say the randomizer makes noise, but it doesn't because it's pushing out into an inventory, so yeah. So it's completely silent. Relatively small, not difficult to understand or build. And then, so if I wanted to say use red sandstone and stone as these, so that people would go in there and see which ones have already been checked. And they could do that if you wanted. So they would go in here and then they would just choose one, break it, and then, well, not the middle one, but choose one of these, break it, and then be like, oh, hey, what's in here, right? Doesn't really matter. That's all aesthetic, just to go with the Lucky Break name. But let's not put a slab here because now I'm stuck. But yeah, so that is the donation box for Lucky Break. And auto sorting. So, when Topmass made this game on the Hermitcraft server, it was relatively early on when the server had just started. People didn't have a lot of resources. But now I think would be a good time for either Topmass or another Hermit to go in and use a design similar to this to make that game more automated. Because a big problem with that game now, the reason not many people play it, is because they go in and they gamble their stuff, but then a lot of times when they gamble their stuff, there's empty furnaces or droppers underneath the slabs, or they all have junk in them because people just threw their junk back in because there was no way to donate. So this is a better way to allow people to donate to the game without just throwing stuff back into the dropper they uncovered. It makes it more random, more automated, and overall it makes it easier to maintain, which should hopefully make it more playable for for the Hermits. Now I don't expect any of the Hermitcraft members to actually see this video, If you guys want to share it to them, that would be fine. I'm not gonna. But yeah, so if you want to implement this design on your own server or your own single-player world, that works too. So yeah, but I was just inspired by Hermitcraft's Lucky Break design. So yeah, gambling, always fun. So I guess until next time. Whoa, it's dark. Time, set, day. This is not day. Time, set, day. There we go. So until next time, keep gambling and keep redstoning. Don't keep gambling, kids. Don't be an addict.